All right, today I bring you some special content, and that is just me ranting about Atlas and Persona and the Switch for I don't know how long I can go until I'm interrupted or finally have to do something. But um, Persona 3 Reload. Uh, just a quick recap, not nothing too fancy. Persona 3, a game came from Atlas and turn-based RPG, as most people know. Came out on the PS2, and it came out on the PS2 again, and it came out on the PSP, and then it came out on the Switch and the PS4 and the PC and everything with like terrible AI upscaling, and now it is getting a full remake. And this is something that has been discussed for a while, and I thought that it was something positive, something to that I could rejoice about, something I could be happy about, especially since Persona 5, after like almost 5 years, finally made it to all platforms outside of the PlayStation 4. So especially for me personally, a big deal was the Switch version. Um, Real quick, why do I hope for stuff like that, like Persona games coming to Switch specifically? It's just the convenience of having it like in handheld mode and in docked mode, having like both options, and also like getting it on like a physical cartridge. Like it's just like the trifecta of things. You can just pick up and play. These games are really nice for that. Like I've been right now I'm playing Persona 5 Royal. I've picked that game back up. Making my way to the third semester. Um, got all that stuff figured out, and I'm just like when I'm traveling or I'm even at home, like in the evening, just playing a quick round while I'm like laying in bed, or like I've got just something running on my TV and just don't want to dock my Switch right now. I just want to like maybe it's a TV show or a podcast or a video that I just already have been playing, and I don't want to be bothered with like pulling out my phone, and then I just pull out the Switch out of my dock and I just start playing. And I feel like this is just what Persona, or like games like Persona, are just meant to be, right? That's just, to me, like this makes the most sense. It's pick up and play, whether you like explore mementos, whether you like in a palace right now, you just get your social link and you like your social stats up, and like that's just great to just have these all of these options, right? um and I felt this way, that this is the ideal way of playing it, since I've played Persona 4 Golden on the Vita. And I feel like because I've played first, I got tired of waiting, and I played Persona 5 on just a PS4, just PS4 Pro or something, whatever. It doesn't. Um, and then I played Golden, and I'm like, yeah, damn, this is actually a lot nicer than just having to sit in front of the TV for like. And I was like no lifing the game, right? I wasn't doing great in college for in that time. Let's just say that, right? And I was just no lifing Persona. It was kind of tiresome to just sit in front of the TV screen for like very long sessions. I don't know how much I want to say about it. Like, let's say 3 hours plus. You just sit in front of a TV. It was very different to like be able to lie in bed with Persona 4 Golden, like go somewhere, take the Vita with you somewhere, right? That was really nice, and like even borrowing the game to like other people, that was a great experience, because that's how they got into the series, like people and friends and family, right? Um, so I've just made this very positive experience with P4G, and then later I played Persona 3 original FES version, just emulated, um, which again, sitting in front of the TV, wasn't great. Was pretty good. I enjoyed it, of course. It's a good Persona game. And then, but then of course, playing the female route on P3P, the portable version. That once again, yeah, this is much better. I like this a lot more. So you can see how I was very optimistic after Persona 5 Strikers and Persona 4 Golden and 3 Portable and 5 Royale all came to the Switch, and things were looking up. And as you can see in like the little image that I have as a recording background, the leak, quote unquote, which was turned out just retailers guessing, sadly. After all that build up, yeah, Persona 3 uh, Reload just not coming to the Switch. And that felt just like a gut punch. It really did. Like after all this time, I was really positive, I think. And yeah, maybe too much assumption, which assumption leads to making an ass out of you and me. So that's what happens when you assume. But it just looked like Sega and Atlas figured it all out, and they were getting smarter with it. And it seems like no, we are just back to Atlas even before they were with Sega, which is something I've ranted a little bit all into the void, and now I'm just recording it, so ranting into another void. But like, I mean, Persona 4 Golden, for example, look at what that did on the Vita. It's like that was the game to get on the Vita, and you'd think that the logical step would be to just take that game and put it on another handheld that was even more successful, to have an even bigger install pace. And like, no, there never was a Persona 4 Golden or Persona 4 on the 3DS at all. And it's just, wait, why? Like, if games like Xenoblade Chronicles, granted that's the 3DS, the new 3DS, but still like an open world game, full console game with like enemies roaming the world, and just the combat not loading into a different like pocket dimension. It's just all there, and that ran and runs on the 3DS. And it's like, you couldn't have figured out this like turn-based RPG on there, especially since that was also like similar to the Switch. It's a big install base. You have people hungry for like turn-based RPGs. Pokemon is huge. Like Monster Hunter, well, that's not turn-based, but still like RPG. And like you have Final Fantasies, and you have like a bunch of different other. You have like Bravely Default, and like you couldn't have taken advantage of that. Now, I would have granted them some slack there, because I think at that time there was still just Atlas and not Sega Atlas. So whatever, they don't have the resources. I get it. All right, they can just only focus on one version. Maybe Sony helped them in some way. Most likely not financial, but maybe some expertise was lent, and they felt, or like some exposure was given, and they felt grateful, and like it's Japanese way, and like we don't want to piss off Sony. Let's just be grateful and move on and start developing Persona 5 and eventually get picked up by Sega. And yeah, this is where I like my patience kind of runs out. It's like, you're under Sega. You're not a small company. You are part of a huge conglomerate. It's not just Sega. It's Sega Sammy. That's a huge conglomerate, and you can't figure that out. Like, you can't go to the biggest install base, especially in Japan, where you already put out your games similar style, some even exclusive, so you have that avenue to like go to Nintendo and again ask at least some expertise or whatever. I don't know exactly. Like, this is full on armchair developer, armchair businessman. I just, it's completely subjective. I don't care about. I'm throwing objectivity out the way. I'm just very annoyed. You couldn't have gone to them. You couldn't have like found any avenue to like put this game day and date out on the biggest installed base, like for this current video game climate. I don't care about generations, just this current video game climate where you, or console climate, where you have PS5, Xbox Series, and the Switch. And the Switch is by far the biggest base here. And you could not have figured this out in some way, shape, or form. And I just don't get it. I don't get it. It's like, it's so head scratching. Like, you could say, okay, well, the Switch is weak, but like, you have Persona 5 on there already. And it's like, oh, well, it's Unreal Engine. It's like, no, but they already did an exclusive Unreal Engine game for the Switch, so they should have developers in house that are experts in this field, right? Like, you couldn't have taken some staff from SMT5 and like, hey, help us figure out a version for, and like, forget in house Atlas. Sega couldn't have like figured out a little bit of that Sonic money and like put it towards a good porting studio. I believe Persona 5 Royal for the Switch was even developed by Sega, not Atlas. So that team couldn't have moved on. I don't know. And like, it seems like you could say, oh well, it's gonna come later. It's gonna come to the next Switch. Blah blah. Is it though? Are we sure about that? Uh, right now, it sure doesn't seem like it, because we said basically the same thing about Soul Hackers 2. We said, oh, Soul Hackers 2, that's missing on Switch. It's gonna come later. Yada yada yada. And like, we haven't heard a single like ounce of rumor or speculation that that is actually coming to the Switch. And like, the same thing again, SMT5. Where's the PS4 version? Where's that like PC version? It's even in the Nvidia leaks, and the Nvidia leaks have been like scarily accurate, right? Like, very very accurate. And like, still, that's one of the games that is in that leak and is not out yet, which I guess that's a bit more credible, that that eventually makes its way around. And who knows, maybe Nintendo even does a deal with Atlas again. That's in a bit of a different state, I'd say, almost, because that we actually have some evidence that there's a deal between Nintendo and Atlas, so it's a bit different, I'd say, than even Persona, which never had a deal. By the way, that's a huge misunderstanding. There was never a real deal between Sony and Atlas, at least not one that like would have affected them like 3 or 4 years later. Um, yeah. What was I gonna say? Yeah, that game. Like, maybe they have a deal with for SMT5 with Nintendo, where they do like SMT5 Ultimate for or like, I think there's like a name for those SMT games. I don't know. For like for a Switch 2, maybe, who knows? I don't think so, but that's like, yeah. The thing that annoys me about Persona 3 Reload is like, there is like a credible leaker. I forgot the name, but they were very accurate. They even like, I think they gave heads up about the reload right before it came out, and they had some details before Atlas revealed them, and they said, and that's like the kicker for me. They said Atlas is not even in the planning stages for a Switch version. And that to me is the most insane thing I've ever read. They don't even have a plan. They should at least, at the very minimum, right now, in house or with partners or whatever, be discussing how to get this damn game on a Nintendo console. And it's so irritating. Like, once again, they are behind Sega. What is Sega doing? Why is Sega sleeping? I'm coming back to this every single time this problem is brought up, this situation or whatever. Like, Sega is sleeping. Sega doesn't care what the subsidiaries do or say in interviews. There's like no accountability whatsoever coming from Sega. The only thing Sega really cares about is like Sonic. If there's a Sonic game, they're gonna bend over backwards, make that run on the Switch. They're like, deathly afraid that the Sonic is gonna flop if it's not on a Nintendo console, right? Like even like the big, expensive, open area game, Sonic Frontiers. Yeah, that's the name. Like they made sure, damn sure, that is coming to the Switch day and date. And if it's running semi well, they don't care. Get that game out day one. We're not gonna take any extra time. We're not gonna wait for more hardware. No, Sonic is coming out, and like that's a flagship, and that makes sense. But if they ever want like Persona, Yakuza, what other games are there? I think no, is that Valkyria Chronicles? I'm not sure, but the mech game, that's a different one. Sakura Wars. If they want these games to be ever flagship games for them, they have to figure this crap out. They have to figure out how to be on the biggest console install base day one. Yeah, I don't know. Like I just had to ramble about this on and on. I mean, I've been going for 60 minutes. I should be doing something else, but maybe some final thoughts. Yeah, I truly hope they figure this out. I hope they, in reasonable time, like that's always like a thing. Like, sure, maybe within the next. Oh yeah, I forgot something. No, no, I'm not stopping there. They're not off the hook. I forgot to mention this. I mentioned it like very briefly, but Yakuza. That's the one thing where like, how do they have these like statements in interviews coming out without Sega coming and slapping these developers and producers and whatnot from RGG Studios? Like, we wanna stay in the shadows. The hell is that supposed to mean? Like, say you're salty about the Wii U versions, just say it outright. I'm gonna actually be a bit more lenient on you. Don't say this crap like we don't wanna be mainstream. We wanna be in the shadows. We don't wanna come out in the light. It's like you're an edgy idiot if you actually believe that. It's like the the PlayStation is the most mainstream brand in gaming, right? Like all the COD bros, all the FIFA dudes, like they are playing PlayStation. It's not like your underground fans. Like those might actually more likely have a Switch or a PC, but that's weird, man. That's weird. Just stop the excuses. Sega slap them in the face and tell them to at least put some Yakuza games on Switch. It's like that is such a missed opportunity. How there's not a Yakuza Zero or a Yakuza Kiwami on the Switch? That's like that's a miracle that they just let them do this. But this once again goes back to my point that like Sega is sleeping when it comes to that. They just it's the wild west with the studios. They do whatever they want. They say the weirdest, wildest things, and it's like no accountability. Let Let me give some credit to Sega. Without Sega and some pressure, probably like the Catherine coming to PC and then Catherine Full Body coming to Switch, and then eventually all the Persona games and making the deals with Microsoft. Like that's all on Sega's side, and that's some good effort from them there. But I don't know. Should they should like get control of the company of the subsidiaries, and they should just let them know, hey, we gotta figure this stuff out. We are losing sales. We're getting some Microsoft money. That's great, but we want the big bucks, right? They're a corporation, and I think this is what it boils down to for me personally. It's like I don't care that like if like a what these corporations do. They don't do it for me. They do it for money. But if they don't give me what I want, why they leave money on the table? It's like, dude, you're not just working against my interest, you're working against your own interest, and that's just weird, and it's annoying, and it's like, why are you we would both benefit in this situation, and you're just purposefully not doing it for I don't know what reason. My only theory is like Atlas has been doing things a certain way, and they are kind of being And I'm not meaning this in like a bad way at all. That they're kind of Japanese about it. They're like, no, this is how we do things, and this is how we always like. I think Atlas is like smart. Has had to be smart with their money, right? They had to like look where their base is. Their base was on PlayStation, so they stayed on PlayStation. They like didn't really take the big games outside of PlayStation. They wanted to capitalize even on something like a 3DS, so they made the weird Persona Q spin-offs at least, right? But they didn't want to diverge too far away from where they thought their core audience was. But all they're doing is, in my opinion, is splitting their base and like not really like catering to everything that they could be catering towards. I don't know. Yeah. So yeah, what am I gonna do about it? Nothing much, of course. I mean, I don't really have power in this situation. I'm just, for the most part, I don't have to play this game day one. It looks fun. It looks from the trailer, the game itself, like outside of like this not coming to Switch and the female route missing and some other stuff missing. Outside of that, it looks fantastic actually. From like trailers, it's very stylized. It's, yeah, but I mean, especially since it's stylized, it should run on the Switch, and there should be like a lot of room for sacrifice, like power, like what's the word, graphical fidelity to be sacrificed without the game like losing too much of its looks. But yeah, whatever. I maybe I'll get a Steam Deck version. I don't even have a Steam Deck, and I don't really want to buy one. I've been looking around for some. Maybe I can get one used that it's like is like in a reasonable price class. But like, why would I get a Steam Deck now if I'm getting a Switch 2 probably next year? So I don't know, and like I don't really want to, and I also want to get it like physical, like actually physical and portable, and that's just on the Switch. So yeah, yeah, this is kind of a downer in general. I'm just hopeful that they wake up and like with Persona 6 or another remake that they do. I mean, the spin-offs for some reason always come to Switch, and I think that's probably because they're just smaller and easier to develop. Um, just lower budget in general. Yeah. So Tactica, I'm even not even like that excited for Tactica now. There's like other stuff. I think Mario RPG comes out the same day, and like I'm trying to be smart with my money regardless and not buy too much crap. So for me, it's probably like a skip for now, and the wait begins anew. The wait begins anew, just like with Persona 5, and maybe I'll give in just like with Persona 5, grab it somewhere else, and then get it on on Switch again, and it's like, ooh, maybe that's oh, they're playing you like a fiddle, and I'm like, I don't see how that's benefiting them. I can't see people so many people double dipping, and I think like even the double dippers are not worth like the potential day one customers that would get it would be because it's on like Switch, because Nintendo is tweeting out and like everyone else is tweeting out, and like you're getting the marketing blitz and you're getting the FOMO. I don't know, especially in Japan. Like Japan doesn't isn't the biggest fan of re-releases from what I understand. It's like I feel like they're never gonna it's not gonna reach its true potential unless Atlas wakes up, or Sony in particular wakes up. And yeah, I'm gonna go and I think study now. If I should have been studying for a while, but whatever. I'll just keep studying until long in the day and whatever. So yeah, that's about it. Goodbye.